17th of February, dawn. Yawning, I slipped the Humber into gear. "A rendezvous map reference 68039, said Lieutenant Button. "You holidayed in Cornwall, you say?" The road was difficult. Come to think of it, so was I. It was marked camel track, and it took us to Elarusa, a small wayside railway station, now a smoking ruin. Around it were the blackened skeletons of a dozen or so lorries. Inside shattered buildings were blood-spattered walls, blood-soaked battle-dress jackets and trousers. An old Arab, all that was left of the station staff, shouted, "Toute mort! Toute mort!" and described how it had happened. Stukas had come early yesterday, and in a few minutes it was all over. "Christ," said Bombardier Sherwood, "what's happened?" "Don't worry," I said, "these are the cheap seats." "Ho, he must have been a bad driver," said Chalky White. The humour was a bit forced. None of us were sure exactly what to say. The officers were now grouped around a map and appeared more excited than is good for an English gentleman. "What are they on?" said Chalky. "A vitamin B," I said. Up the line comes Chater Jack's truck. "Prepare to move! Prepare to move! Yoicks and tally-ho!" We followed him towards Bu Arada. Half a mile on, he turned left across the railway lines, down a bank, over a dusty wheat field, towards a small farm nestling at the foot of Jebel Rihani, nicknamed Grandstand Hill. Behind, the great khaki guns rolled like fat babies as they negotiated the bosomy terrain. The silence was broken by the sharp crack of artillery. "They sound like mediums," said Lieutenant Button. "Oh, they're too small for me, sir," I said. "I take outsize." Ha ha ha! Sergeant Dawson raced past on his motorbike. When we arrived at the farm, he was waiting with the Major. Soon the area was a mass of frenetic action. "Scrim nets on! Disperse trucks! Trucks over under those trees! Monkey trucks, prepare to lay 10-mile telephone line! All guns in the waddy there! Bombardier, form OP party!" "For God's sake," I said, "there are more orders than men." Eddington joined in. "All gunners stand on one leg and lean eastwards." The guns were towed into a waddy. The command post tent appeared to have been put up by trainee wolf cubs. Bren guns were mounted against aircraft. "Lucky sod," said White. "All they do is to scratch their balls and look up." The 200-pound mustard-coloured shells were being unloaded and stacked. Signallers were lugging communications equipment into the command post. Specialists were putting up artillery boards and all those fiddling instruments that computed which German the shell would hit. Of course, they could have put all the names in a hat. A trestle table was erected for the tannoy control. Next to it were the telephone and the wireless set. Cables were run to the gun positions. Loudspeakers at each subsection connected and tested. It worked like this. Place loudspeaker near gun, connect wire from command post, press button on top of loudspeaker at gun position. Immediately, light flashes in command post control panel. "Hello, B-sub. Are you flashing? Can you hear me?" "Yes, but we're not B-sub, we're A-sub." "Oh, fuck. Can you flash again?" "I'm not going to become a flasher for anybody." Signallers are laying a line to the wagon lines, the place for vital supplies, vehicles, cowards and porridge. It was important to appear busy. Gunner White was cunningly going around with an empty DDT tin. When questioned, he would spring to attention and say, "De-lousing, sir," and he got away with it. Major Chaterjack's letter of that time recounts. Perhaps an idea of what my HQ looks like would be possible, but to get the atmosphere is impossible. It's rather like one of the original structures at KK. By the way, I never found out what he meant by that, KK. But there is very much more of it. Tony Goldsmith and I have bedding at one end handy to us, with our wireless, telephone and loudspeaker systems to the guns. In the middle is a table, some charts, and an electric light run by bringing in the headlight of the vehicle outside. At the other end is Woods, my batman, and a few others who are at this moment trying to get a primus-turf going for tea, since we have just had stand down as the sun rises. Ridiculous! Sit down, yes, but stand down is impossible. It was late afternoon, and we were hurrying to establish an OP before dark. By nightfall, guns were dug in and living quarters constructed. In my mud hut, I took out my trumpet and played Lily Marlene. Nazi newsflash. "Rommel, hear that? This man must be captured. He has shown considerable initiative to play ein German tune behind the Allied lines. He must have the complete confidence of General von Alexander. We must capture this golden England trumpet spieler." Von Hattertei. "How can we use him?" Rommel. "First, we make him Field Marshal Spike von Milligan and Company Limited, Nazi Holdings, Bankers Hill Samuels. Then he will face the Allied line and play Charge. When the British are almost up to our lines, he will play Retreat. Then they will withdraw. Then he will play Charge again. Then Retreat. After 5 hours, the Britishers will be, how you say?" Von H. "Shagged out." Rommel. "Yeah, shagged out." Von H, supposing he refuses. Rommel, he won't. I have something here he will do anything for. Here Rommel hands Von Hattertime a photograph. Von H looks. Has 17 premature ejaculations, staggers backwards, forward, sideways, sweat pouring from his field marshal's baton. He speaks. Von Hattertime. Mein Gott! Louise from Bexhill. Rommel. Ha ha, ja. Look at those knockers. Von H. Wunderschön. Now I know, as they call you, is the foxtrot of the desert. By now the signals were all inside the Arab hut, which now glowed yellow with an improvised oil lamp. I checked my Tommy gun for the night. I had continually worked out in my mind the precautions I would take if confronted by Germans. It was simple, but a highly effective plan. I would raise my hands above my head and say, I surrender. Through our doors came Sergeant Dawson. Grinning evilly, he removed the blankets from my weary body. We're looking for our first hero casualty. We're laying a line to the OP. But tonight? Yes, tonight. I was just going to bed. It's Rita Hayworth's turn. Get your bloody boots on. I must get my rest, Sarge. People are saying I'm finished. I'll tell you when you'll be finished. 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, right? I pulled my boots on, got my pliers, Tommy gun, and slid into the dark. The detail was Lance Bombardier and his Bren carrier, Sergeant Dawson, Gunners Hart, Webster, Milligan, and Bombardier Fuller, who knew where the OP was. Dawson told us, silence is imperative. We set off being imperatively silent, which couldn't be heard because of the noise of the Bren carrier. We walked behind with a cable drum that went clinkety-clank, clinkety-clank. Why? The hole in the cable drum was square, but the spindle was round. We all spoke in hysterical whispers. God knows why. To communicate, we had to shout above the engine. As this charade went on, we started to giggle, then outright laughter. "Stop the bloody Bren!" shouted Dawson, himself on the verge of laughter. There was a suppressed silence. Unable to stand it, we all burst out laughing again. "Stop it at once," said Dawson. "Stop it," he said through his own laughter. So we stopped. "Now stop it, or I'll kill the bloody lot of you." A white star shell lit the night. "What's that?" said Ernie Hart. "That only means that a child has been born in Bethlehem," I said. "Well, he's 2 months late, and the wrong bloody map reference." Another 2 star shells. "She's had triplets," said Ernie. After an hour we reached the OP hill. "This way," said Bombardier Fuller. Birch and I followed with the reel. "Stop that fucking noise!" hissed an angry Irish voice. "You get us all fucking martyred!" We took the spindle from the drum and unwound by hand. More flares. Suddenly a rapid burst of automatic fire. It was a Spando, a return blast, the unmistakable chug-chug-chug of a Bren gun. A flare silhouetted us beautifully for the whole Africa Corps to see. "Freeze!" hissed Fuller. I had one leg raised when he said it. Somewhere a German OP officer was saying, "Himmel! They're using one-legged soldiers." The flares faded. Fuller said, "I'm lost." "I thought you'd never say it," I said. We groped our way back to the party, who were inside the Bren, practicing fear and smoking. Dawson attached a phone to the line. "Hello, gun position here." "This is Sergeant Dawson. Tell Major Chaterjack we can't find a bloody OP. Will it be all right tomorrow?" We waited. "Yes," Chater said. "OK tomorrow, but before first light." "Come on, let's bugger off," said Dawson. We piled into the carrier. I looked up. What a sky! The heavens encrusted with stars. The Milky Way hung like a luminous veil across the firmament. "Halt!" 2 sentries loomed in the dark. "Friend or foe?" "Friends," we all screamed from the grovelling position. "What's the password?" Dawson tried explaining. "Well, we don't know. You see, we're gunners from 56 Artillery. We're laying a line." The fear in his voice allowed us to pass. About 1 o'clock we arrived at the gun position. Our guns were firing. God, what a bloody noise! What in heaven's name did they think they were doing? It was past midnight. What would the neighbours say? I mean, soldiers need rest. They have to get up every morning looking lovely for their regiments. "General Montgomery." "Have you seen Gunner Milligan this morning?" "General Alexander." "No, why?" "He looks so tired and washed out. The Germans shouldn't really see him like that." "By Jove, yes. I'll ask him to see the M.O. Later at the M.O. Gunner Milligan. "I don't know, sir. Every morning I wake up listless and jaded, and the men are talking." The M.O. "Milligan, you're suffering from night starvation. I want you to wake up 5 times a night and drink 3 gallons of porridge." Next morning, General Montgomery. "Seen Milligan this morning?" Alexander. "Yes, he's back to his old self, thanks to," together, "porridge." I got to bed, yawning. I pulled the blankets over me, doused the lamp, and slid into the dreamlit hours of darkness and freedom. To sleep under the ear-shattering blasts of our guns seemed impossible. Yet, as they thundered in the night towards Medjugorje, we all slept like babes. It seemed I had hardly put my lovely head to the pillow when the boot of the sentry delicately kicked me conscious. "Milligan? What's the matter? What's the matter? You and Fuller have got to connect the OP line. What's the matter? There's early breakfast laid on for you." I don't like people laying on my food," I said. I was now wide awake. It was 0500 hours. It wasn't fair. Who invented early? The late people were much happier, like the late King George or the late Rasputin. I didn't bother to wash or shave. Red-eyed, I ambled to the cookhouse. "How long have you been dead?" said the cook. The morning air was cool. Light blue mist cast a hazy veil over the landscape. The dawn peace was shattered by the 5th mediums laying down a barrage. Breakfast was a surprise. The new Compo K rations had arrived. Cases of tinned and dehydrated food. We had scrambled egg, sausages, and porridge. "They're just fattening you up for the kill," said the cook. 0600. Bombardier Fuller and I set off. We skirted our guns to avoid the muzzle blast and porridge. The ground was covered with a very light dew that was now drying out. Every 20 yards we stapled the wire to the ground. The sun came up. It was going to be a lovely day. Reaching the foot of the hill, Bombardier Fuller suddenly remembered where the OP was. "We was too far to the left," he said. "We," I said. "You," I said. I walked to where we dumped the cable. Unbeknown, I was under enemy observation. Whoosh, bang! Behind me a purple and red explosion. I was so surprised I walked to where it had happened, when whoosh, bang, another one. I didn't like it. Dropping the cable drum, I made a tactical withdrawal to the foot of the hill. "Oh, they must have seen you," said Fuller, a master of the obvious. 2 more burst behind the crest, 6 more. They were searching for us. Then, all quiet. "Look," I said, "this is bloody dangerous work. I'm going to put in for a rise." "I must get this bloody line finished," said Fuller. I love the I bit. "The OP is straight up to the right of that tree." I paid out the line as he went forward. Nearer the crest, he started to crouch and finally disappeared into the scrub. Now and then I'd feel a tug on the line as he freed it from some obstacle. I was holding the line when 2 Bren carriers of infantry passed down the hill to my right. "Fishing, mate," said a laconic voice. I made a time-honoured gesture. Fuller re-emerged. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yes." "Who's up there?" "Lieutenant Goldsmith and Bombardier Edwards." "Let's get back," I said. I now produced my new pipe, which I had brought to try and avoid smoking those bloody awful V's. Having a pipe clenched in your teeth seemed to make you feel calm, thoughtful, unflappable. "Major Chetajack." "I see Milligan is smoking a pipe." Sergeant Dawson. "Yes, sir." "He looks very good smoking it." "Yes, sir." "Looks manly." "Very manly, sir." Unflappable." "Definitely unflappable." "What's he like as a soldier?" "Bloody awful, sir." Rather than go back to the gun position, we hung around at the foot of the OP, yarning and smoking. Finally, towards evening, we started back. "It was all a bit of an anticlimax," Fuller said. "Yes, I wonder which bit it was." I felt my chin. I had a 3-day growth. A dust storm was starting to blow up. I couldn't decide whether it was German or one of ours. In the middle of it, a staff car emerged from across the field. "Me. Look, Frank. In the middle of it, a staff car has emerged from across the field." It was General Alexander with some of his staff officers. They got out, pointed in all directions, leaped back into the car and shot off at speed. The rich have all the fun. Dusty and tired, we arrived at the gun position. Lieutenant Joe Mostyn had just returned from a meal with an Arab sheikh. "I had to eat 3 bloody sheep's eyes." "Really?" I said. "Bend down and you should be able to see me out the back." Poor old Joe. He was not particularly good at gunnery. On his first day at an OP, he scored 10 direct hits on a field. I pointed out that there were no Germans in it. He said, "but they may fall into the holes." "Of course," I said. "German division surrenders with twisted ankle." "You've got to miss sometimes," he said. "It's good for business." What a war. There I was just doing well in the schmutter trade, and this schmuck Hitler comes along. So I have to switch from outsize blouses to battle dresses. I'm just starting to do well again when I get called up. Me, a soldier? This Major says, "Mostyn, with your head for figures, you're ideal for the Royal Artillery." So here I am wasting shells, 10 shells, let's see, nearly 400 quid wasted. For that I could have made 310 battle dresses. The instructor of gunnery at war. A poem? by Lieutenant Goldsmith. I'm Captain Blenkinsop, I.G., sent by mistake across the sea, to land upon this dismal shore, and find myself involved in war. Sad is the tale I have to tell, for a man like me this war is hell. For how can anyone expect my fall of shot to be correct, when everything I tell the guns is interfered with by the Huns? When bombs are dropping down in rows, how can I make my traverse close, or take a bearing on the pole, while cowering in a muddy hole? It's plain that the opposing forces have not been on the proper courses. But worst of all, the other day, when I was checking someone's lay, the Germans rushed the gun position, without the commandant's permission. I had to meet them man to man, armed only with the Tetley fan. Oh, send me back to Salisbury Plain, and never let me roam again. Lark Hill's the only place for me, where I could live at ease and free, and frame with sharpening pencil stroke a barrage of predicted smoke, worked out for 16 different breezes, with extra graphs in case it freezes, for non-rigidity corrected, and on a Merton grid projected. Oh, take me to the R.A. mess, to dwell in red brick happiness, enfold my body leather chair, and let me fight the war from there. 18:20 hours. I retired to our mud hut, threw myself on the bed. My second day in action, and not yet killed. By God, the Germans were bad shots. Next door to us were the Arab farmer, his wife and 2 kids, a boy of 6 and a girl about 4. I knew they must be having a rough time, so I occasionally took them a tin of steak and kidney pudding. What words of comfort did the Arab mother have for her children? How did she explain away the thunder of our guns? What did she say we were? Good? Bad? I suppose the little Arab boy is a man now, and works in the same land. Perhaps he's getting a better life. I wonder if he remembers the gunner who made a rabbit's head from a handkerchief and made it wiggle its ears. He might be telling his children, so this silly bugger comes up, ties a few knots in his handkerchief, and I'm supposed to laugh, silly sod. The oil lamps cast a yellow glow. Shadows wavered on the faces in the playing light. The guns, silent for the past hour, started a harassing fire task. Somewhere, some German was about to receive 200 pounds of exploding iron. Harassing fire has no rhythm. That was the idea. You fired at aggravating intervals. It was the Chinese water torture with solids. Gunner Ernie Hart. What was it like at the OP? Nothing much. I was shelled a bit. What, real shells? Oh, no, just imitations. Were they near? Pretty near. They fell in the same country. Oh, we had to take a line to the top of Jebeliani near the mosque. Mosque? Yes, it was a ruin. Shows you what drink can do. We could see Jerry from the top. Anybody we knew? We could see him queuing up for grub. A voice. What's the time? Me. It's nearly 11. Hart. Feels like 2 in the morning. Me. You must be feeling the wrong part. Ha ha. He pulled the blankets up and moved down into his pit. Me. Just think, if Gladstone was alive today, he'd be 157. Man cannot live by bread alone. What are you talking about? Go to sleep, for Christ's sake. Very well, but if Gladstone comes through that door and asks for a slice of bread alone, don't say I didn't warn you. At this, Gunner Milligan rolled on his side, closed his eyes, and dreamed he was fronting a 24-piece orchestra. They all wore black jackets, but he was wearing a white one, playing great trumpet solos that had people crowding the stand. Lily was there, and he ignored her, at which moment Rita Hayworth called for him in a Rolls-Royce that she drove right up to the bandstand. He screws Rita Hayworth in the back of the Rolls, then takes another chorus on the trumpet.